enough of that. It's time to get things kicked off with the Indie of the Week. And this week, in celebration of either the American War of Independence, the Revolutionary War, or the Day of Unchecked Colonial Aggression, depending on who you are and where you're from.
Oh, National Theatre Day?
I thought we would have a look at Galloping Major, because they have some interesting bits and pieces from that neck of the woods.
Ooh.
So, I will very briefly touch on a second company before we get into Galloping Major. So, they are the UK stockist for King's Mountain Miniatures. The website doesn't show the range at the moment. Presumably that is because they're about to be recast, and so most of them are out of stock. So I have open here the King Mountain miniature range. The way they break their stuff down is they have, all these are single figures, obviously right off the bat. They are American War of Independence stuff. You can buy box sets together, where it's like, 10 or 12 marching or whatever it happens to be. But the if we look at the Continentals, the main sort of selling point for King is they have somewhere in the region of 250 alternative heads.
Wow. Okay.
So if you want to take that miniature that's currently a Highlander because it's wearing a Scots bonnet, and then give it a mitred hat to make it into a grenadier, or give it a whatever to make it into a whatever, they have a substantial amount of additional heads with different
that's neat.
forms of head capery on there.
So I can make it into a Mel Gibson?
Yeah, sure, if you want. That probably is Mel Gibson there. Unfortunately, he's not close enough for me to smell his breath, so I can't be entirely certain. But, yeah, it probably is. Anyway, as you can see, the King Mountain range is substantial. When you get into it. So you have your irregulars, your militia, your Continental Army regulars as well. There's everybody's favourite to see, somebody falling over dying.
I've been shot.
I look at him and I think he's found a shilling. Oh, it's funny.
Maybe he found a shilling and then got shot. Yeah.
No, that's my shilling.
It was a cunning trap. Yeah.
Shot in the back. That's what you get for taking the King shilling. So anyway, so King's Mountain Miniatures, they have the Continentals, they have a substantial amount of Dragoons, Highlanders and others. Oh. So you can do your dismounted Dragoony type riflemen.
Very cool.
And like I say, they have a whole slew of heads. If I just go to the miniatures heads, animal fur hats, fur style hats, bandanas, bear heads with bandages, floppy hats, so on and so forth. Now, while some of these are very distinctly this early to mid 1700 sort of period, well, I suppose up to 1776, it does mean that you can use them for bits and pieces like piracy type of things. So the Golden Age of piracy is obviously early 1700s, so you can go nuts with that. It means then you can use bits and pieces like these guys with the anchors to make your British Marines with mitred hats by just using regular British militia or military on board your ship. So don't know who had the anchor. Oh, no. Anyway, I digress. That's King's. We're not looking at King's, but King's exists. It's there. We might look at it in the future. I don't know. It's, you kind of seen what it is. It's a range of American War of Independence stuff. Go nuts. Right. So Galloping Major then in the UK, they have a couple of different ranges of their own then, which are, I believe, sculpted by the owner as well, Lance. So we're going to start with the 18th century, because I've spent a lot of time looking at 18th century piratey types and English troops of late for reasons.
Swashbucklers.
Buckle that, swashes.
They do boats?
I don't believe they do boats, no.
Oh, I saw a section that said boats. I was promised boats. I'm disappointed.
Are you sure it didn't say book?
Yeah, it did.
Maybe.
Said books.
Dyslexia. My old friend. Hello, we meet again.
And if it's any help, there's no books in it currently, because I have it earlier.
So there's no winning.
Yeah, it's one of these ones where, if I clicked on that in some clever fashion that darkened it all. There we go. Yeah, occasionally there will be things like Osprey books and, sort of bits and pieces like that for specific periods that he's picked up and then drops into that section. But as you can see, the little Anglo-American civilian defenders are quite nice, especially if you just come ripping off a ship with a bunch of pirate friends and want to sack a village. Because why would you not?
You didn't need a bunch of NPCs to shoot. Yeah, that's very true.
Well, I mean, if you roll off the ship into a town that's been settled by ex-soldiers, you hear the words volley fire, run.
This is a really nice set of figures. Where's the ambiguate button? There we go.
Oh, those are great.
My particular favorite is there's a priesty type kicking around in here somewhere.
Oh, minister?
You can just see him kicking off.
Ah, there he is.
Spouting sermons as he shoots you.
It's time to meet my God. Bam. And then
the tavern keeper with
a blunderbuss.
Yeah.
I mean, crowd control.
It's the way to do it.
Get out of my tavern.
So really nice. They're 25 mil. I have seen them stacked up beside Perry's and stuff. So even though they're sort of an older sculpted range, they aren't dissimilar in size to a lot of the modern stuff, so they won't look hugely out of place. I think it's that inevitable scale creep that we all know and love. I think a long time ago, people should have been hunted down whenever they started measuring things instead of using scale and just going millimeters. That's not scale, mate. That's a measurement. You need to stop doing that. And then that way we wouldn't have these problems today. I'm just saying.
I really like the look of the boarding party. That looks really cool.
We'll get there.
So that's a collection of all the sets together. So you can buy yourself a full crew of troops, which is awesome. I like that.
Obviously, it would have been great if we'd had young Lloyd here, just so he could see the tiny pictures.
Just see him twitching in a corner going...
the two biggest ones, he gets a Lloyd shot out of it. So
there we go.
He needs to stop complaining about life.
Just helping to a degree. Yeah.
Oh, is this some kind of shopkeeper?
No, these are sailor types.
Okay.
So he may be some sort of barber surgeon. The guns
I can make your wounds better by shooting your leg off.
There's nothing can be done about this.
We need to amputate, and I've lost my saw. It's all right. Just put the leg in front of the cannon.
A shave and a bullet extraction for free.
Yeah. It's the Emperor's grace. Bam, into the side of the head. But yeah, really nice set of piratey types and sailors. Let's face it, the line was blurred quite a bit. It all comes down to whether or not they've got that letter of mark.
That's true. Yeah.
That, and it really depends on who you were coming from and who you were raiding. Because even if you didn't have the letter of mark, if you were English raiding the French, you could just say, "Oh no, privateers, bye-bye."
Shocking types.
The Queen said I could do this. Well, the King said I could do this. Yeah.
So yeah.
Those are really nice. I like those. They've got just enough detail. They've just got just enough detail on them to make them like fun to paint before them just becoming annoying, which is a fine line with miniatures nowadays. So.
They're not overly fussy.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I love the levels of individuality you're getting in amongst all this because, again, in pirate crews, you're not going to have a lot of generic, like I am just pirate number 4 in the background. This is pirate number 3, but he's wearing a different colored shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like him just wandering around. Enjoying
keeping an eye on everybody. Yeah.
Everything's good here. Nothing to see. Don't worry about it. I'm sure I won't be shot.
Yeah, all ship shape and Bristol fashion, sir. Don't worry.
Looks like he's about to marry off his daughter to some captain or lieutenant.
Or he's just watching his daughter being taken off by the pirates going, "Oh, thank God she's gone."
Really
Do you like the fact that they're on square bases as well?
I love the fact that they're on 20 mil square bases.
Yeah.
Like nature intended.
Appropriate basing is important to Jerry.
Somewhere Lloyd is prepping a set of pennies to use for these. So.
Hit pennies.
They've got a whole lot of things for Christmas, though.
Oh, anyway. Damn it. As soon as I said it, I knew it was coming.
You didn't know. You had no way of knowing. Anyway.
What was that dude? Was that guy carrying like a bombard or something? Or has he just got
it's a set of brass knuckles.
Brass knuckles, yeah.
Of course.
Someone's about to get upside the head.
That's how the quartermaster keeps you away from the grog.
That is 100% how he does it, yes. Yeah. So leaving the sailory types behind, let's lose king as well. We have the French and Indian Wars, which obviously slips into the 7 Years' War quite nicely. So we'll start with this. We'll have a look at the British. These are really nice.
This seems to be coming. I mean, I know it was a couple of years ago as well, but this seems to be becoming a new sort of, well, not new, but a returning era of warfare that people are going back to and having a look at again, I think, which is kind of nice.
It's one of those, I wouldn't say it's cyclical, but every now and again something will crop up and all of a sudden people will go, oh, that's a great period. I really enjoy that. And then it's like films. You know the way you normally get like two massive blockbusters made by different companies at the same time about the same thing, and it just, they're not copying each other. It just happens whatever way society was going. Both made two different writers think we need a volcano film at the same time. It's similar. Certain things trigger people, and then they go, "Oh, Outlander, whatever."
Two people are going to make asteroid films at the same time.
Yeah, and then they go, "Oh, well, I should really get in there and do a French Indian War sort of stuff." And this is why I was looking at them. To be brutally honest, I'm trying to find a really nice set of Indians for American Wild West, and I'm going, I don't know whether I want Plains Indians or Apaches or what have you. So I've just been trolling various companies looking at stuff that they've been doing. I really like these First Nation ones, the Canadian natives. There's some really nice bits and pieces in here. And if anybody watches Atten Shea on YouTube, who does a lot of historical stuff, a lot of American Civil War in particular, but he met up with a couple of First Native reenactors one day up in the middle of nowhere, and they went through what their dress was and how it related to them. So it was a really comprehensive guide where two guys were literally going, here's what I'm wearing, here's what the colors are, here's what this was made out of, and it's a really good source of information for painting, specifically the First Nations Canadian type stuff. So yes, everybody should go and have a look at Atten Shea. Just saying.
I think that's one of the nice things about this period and why people are so drawn to it as well, is that it's got kind of that element of the regimented warfare, because you have all your Brits or your French or whatever in their uniforms. But then you've also got all the chaps that have been there for donkey's years and have, decided these uniforms are awful. I'm just going to wear what everybody else is wearing and start wearing furs and all sorts of different things. And then you get to mix in all of the First Nation troops as well. So you get to have a lot of fun with the painting and the modeling side of it, and also the gaming, because it can be done on a large scale and a small scale and everything in between as well, which is nice. So, yeah.
I mean, there's a great TV show. Now, the period is later than this. It's during the War of Independence. It's on Amazon, called Turn.
Oh, okay.
Which is a very, very good show, because it actually follows a civilian who is basically a part of the spy network that was living in British occupied territory.
Oh, right.
And basically figuring out how to pass secret messages back and forth between the lines. And some of the actual like uniforms and stuff in there, like the Queen's Rangers and stuff, really, really great to see on camera, and a really great resource if you're trying to learn to paint around that era.
Oh, that's cool. Something to keep an eye on then.
Yeah, I was unaware of its work. I hadn't heard of anything even creeping up. We'll not spend a huge amount of time going through everything in here, but I'll throw up some of the others. There's some of
the civilian sets are always great for these kind of things as well, though. So.
You recognize some of those from the other one anyway. So I think it's the same group together. That might be a bigger image if memory serves. No,
memory did not serve.
Further away.
Well, you just have to work on the principle that my memory is failing me. I'm the Mike Staclakis of this little group. What can I say? Yeah.
There is some gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And I mean, there's so much to look at, even in each of the different factions for the different regiments that would have been fighting around this time.
And the good news is, at no point will the taxes be pushed so high because of other wars that these guys will ever break away from the Great British Empire. So that's good. There's nothing to worry about there. Arm them and train them well, my friends.
I blame the French.
Pretty much the war beggared them, yeah.
Wasn't that the whole thing, was that Britain was basically hurting for money, taxing America way too hard because this war had just picked the pockets clean?
Very much so. And not just them, but also the Swedes.
Mm.
I see you, Ben. I see what you're doing. And then, obviously, regular British line infantry. Charge bayonets. Get ready for...
Walk forward very slowly and then prick them with your bayonets.
Pokey pokey.
Don't worry if the cannons are coming in. Just keep going, lads.
I mean, honestly, how do you hold your nerve having to line up in block formation and wait for someone to actually lift the rifle? Ready, aim. Hell with this, I'm out.
It's really, really simple. The beatings during training.
Okay.
And if you turned in the middle of a battle, you're going to be shot.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. If you turn away, you're definitely dead. If you keep walking, you might be dead.
I remember I can't remember who it was. I think it was a Napoleonic reenactor. He was talking about this sort of, well, the idea of like block formations and, getting your rifles and firing and just standing still. And he said, yes, there's the chance that you could get hit. But in most cases, the rifles were so shit.
Oh, yeah.
That they probably weren't going to hit you. So by the time you'd moved forward far enough to then charge, you were probably okay. So you just had to kind of like wince.
There was a bit where Wolfe, the British general, may have been at Quebec, he stopped his men when they were marching forward, walked to the front of the line, and then in French said, shoot first, gentlemen of French, or gentlemen of France, and sort of doffed his hat in a after you kind of gesture, because he knew he was so far out of range that they would just waste it and they'd be in and shot in the face before they got their muskets reloaded. So
cheeky.
Yeah.
I don't think the French took it, but to be fair, didn't really help them anyway. So.
I do want to do a little bit of looking into this now, just to see how inaccurate old school muskets and stuff were.
They're horrible.
It's very much broadside of the barn type of thing.
Well, even moving into sort of like the Wild West era and stuff, the whole sort of couldn't hit a barn door. That comes from the fact that a revolver was so bad. Because you could fire it at a barn door and it would probably miss and hit the cow next door.
Well,
so
even today, being a marksman with a pistol is no easy feat.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
our little British.
Although I still always enjoyed it, the British and any of the colonial empires that went over into to fight against the First Nations and stuff, were always like, oh, these chaps just won't line up and fight us. They keep popping out of the woods and attacking and then vanishing. What's this? This isn't real warfare. And I was like, good on you.
That's not how you fight a war, man. You're just the worst.
March forward towards the enemy and get shot.
Also, French regulars are up as pre-orders. So they're coming. But they do have more First Nation bits and pieces in here. So they've got the Hurons. Yeah. Again, see. I'm sure I can use some of them. I've not been looking at the blood and plunder rules for natives, by the way. I haven't been doing
that. Not at all.
Of course not.
But the key is lots of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Many.
Also, I really like the idea that the war paint on them make them really interesting from a painting point of view. Because you've got all of the various clothes and designs and animal skins and all the rest, and then you have very distinctive styles of war paint.
Yeah. And I know that stuff has existed in the past as well, but there's been a lot of companies who've done a lot of really nice skin tone paints as well now, and sets that are allowing people to paint more accurately. Which is quite nice too. So you've got lots of more options on the hobby side of things for painting too, which is nice. So.
The Army Painter skin tone set is ridiculous. For anybody painting any skin tone, that set of 9 or 12 or whatever it is, paints and washes is it's like idiot proof.
Tiny.
You just fire on the base coat. Then and it has a really satin, almost gloss finish to it.
Oh, nice.
And then the wash, then over the top of that, mats that down and also helps control where it pulls. And then there's like a toner set, like a pigment toner that you can mix into each of the sort of
to get it just
colors.
Right, kind of thing.
And you can go to as many steps as you want. So if you want to do something very, high quality, lots of shading and blending, you can do that with the Army Painter one. Or if you just want to stick the base coat down, throw a wash over it and walk away, it still looks more than good enough, especially for big regiments.
Very cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so we have those. We have some of the Hurons again. See, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like chin shoulders type of doohickey. Look far away. Coming at you out of the skyline.
Very nice. Very cool indeed. Yeah.
So, leaving the French and Indian Wars behind, the final range is the Wild West. It's not a massive range.
Why do I feel like this is also one of the reasons why you came here, Jerry?
I have no idea. I don't know why you keep talking at me.
It's a little bit ye, a little bit haw.
It's really old. There's a small amount of gunfighter types. So you've got your hired guns. We've got a couple of lawmen as well. But really, the majority of the Old West types are sort of 7th Cav.
Right.
Well, not but Union soldiers,
A little bit wider.
Could be white. Could be any of the ERPs. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Could be Ted ERP, the ERP that nobody really talks about.
Oh, those are great. I love those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I say, those are more or less.
The guy's got a bit of a Pinkerton vibe to him as well.
Yeah, well, because he's rocking the bowler hat.
Yeah.
Pinkertons who are still going to this day. Who knew?
Just hunting down people who have magic cards instead.
Magic cards, yeah. Wizards of the Coast sent the Pinkertons after somebody with a deck of magic cards that they shouldn't have had because it had been sent out by accident. And reviewed it on his YouTube channel, and then the Pinkertons got sent to their bowler hats with shotguns after them. So that's just how Hasbro rules these days. Anyway,
wow.
If I go into
corporate thuggery, you have to love it.
Boom, boom. I mean, obviously they could have just contacted and went, "That was an error. Can we have
Please send back?
We'll sort you out." But it's much easier to send somebody with a bowler hat, trench coat, and a shotgun, because I imagine that is on handlebar mustache. Every Pinkerton.
I'd love that if that's still there.
That's the uniform.
Yeah. By law, you can't be a Pinkerton without that. Otherwise, you're just a thug.
even the female operatives.
Yeah. It's great that you've got the cavalry in there as well. So you can run some kind of like forts on the frontier, get attacked and stuff. Yeah.
You could do something with Custer, maybe.
Go full plains war.
Maybe.
That poor fool. That poor blonde fool.
Oh, let's all sing Gary Owen now. They died with their boots on reference, which is another one for the kids. I like doing the kids' references.
Of course you do.
Because I know all the 20-year-olds in the audience are waiting for Errol Flynn films to be name checked. So, yes, get in. The Flinster. Yeah.
Those are great. I like those. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Dismounted cavalry. And
Brilliant.
There's even a little set of Apaches as well. But only to 4, which isn't enough for me. I'm just saying, for Dead Man's Hand, I need about 8, maybe 12. No more than 16.
Enough to set up a bit of a raid, though. That's good. So,
yeah.
Well, enough for a crusade.
We'll have to, very briefly, I need to nip back to this. Because I will just chuck this one in, just apropos of nothing at all, just in case you fancy a t-shirt to wear while you're playing your 17th century games. There's the nice "We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors," or a King George commands and we'll obey over the hills and far away style.
Very cool.
Which is also good for sharp, if you like sharp.
Yeah.
So just throw those in as well.
And they're in colours that aren't just black, which is always nice to see when it comes to
What's wrong with black?
Clothing. There's nothing wrong with geek clothing. It's just that everyone wears black.
Wait, are you saying every black piece of clothing is geek clothing?
Now, yes. Yeah.
That's how it works. It's like conversions and kitbacks.
Yeah, John.
Right.
Honestly, that shirt I was this close to buying, but John beat me to it.
And you can't wear the same T-shirt.
Oh no,
that would start to talk. I mean,
oh no, twinsies? No, we're not doing twinsies, except in costume.
I'd disown you anyway.
Shocking stuff. Right, so there we have Galloping Major, and theoretically King's Mountain Men as well.
Very nice.
Our indie of the week for this week. Hope that's whetted your appetite. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be looking at the Spring Clean Challenge.